Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shep Englander, the CEO at the Jewish Federation here in Sarasota-Manatee. And with me is our Chief Financial Officer, Vickie Tiutyama, who just returned a couple days ago from almost 2 weeks on the Ukrainian border in Hungary. I knew what Vickie was there to do, and we received frequent texts and we saw photos. But the stories she told me after she got back were beyond what I expected. So I'm so glad that we have the opportunity for you to hear those stories, because no matter what you read in the newspaper or you see on TV, it's not the same. The outpouring of support for the people of Ukraine and the Ukrainian refugees has been overwhelming from the American Jewish community and locally here at home. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being with us. This is central to who we are at the Jewish Federation. At the core of our mission is to build a better life for Jews at home in Israel and throughout the world. And one of our strategic priorities is to provide care for the vulnerable. Everything that we're doing and that Vickie has done and continues to do advances that mission. So let me turn to Vickie. Vickie, how did it happen that you got on a plane with 1 day's notice and found yourself on the Ukrainian border? Tell us about that call and what went through your head.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Shep and our federation and all of our Jewish community for accommodating and being eager to help with the Ukrainian refugee crisis. It does mean a lot to all of the Ukrainians. So thank you. So May 17th, I received a phone call from JDC asking for volunteer help in Hungary or Poland. I did have a choice.
So the call came from the Joint Distribution Committee?
Yes, it was from JDC. They work, it's a partnership between JDC, JFNA, and JAFE. So
JFNA is our Jewish Federation's umbrella group, and JAFE is the Israeli organization, the Jewish Agency for Israel.
Yes, that's correct. So they asked whether I can make it there by May 19th. They needed somebody on the grounds in 2 days. So after speaking with Shep, speaking with other leaders, I made the decision to jump on a plane and go to Hungary.
And why you? Why did they call you out of the blue?
Well, I did meet some of the people at one of the conferences, and I did express my interest in helping the Ukrainian refugees, and that's it. And then, so they did send me the information. I was able to fill out the application, and they were able to reach back to me. And
wonderful.
Yes, so we had a group of 6 volunteers altogether. 2 of the volunteers were from Israel, and 4 were from America. I was the only one from Florida. We had 3 from New York City, and all of us met for the first time in Hungary. So yes, that was very, very different experience for sure. Going across the board with people you never met, with strangers that you probably would never meet in your lifetime.
And what were your days like? I mean, you got the call, the next day you're on a plane, the day after that you're on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got there around 2 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock I was already sitting at our check-in booth accepting new refugees. So it was right on. I mean, I got off the plane, I was right on work.
And where were these people coming from?
So the people that we were dealing with, they actually came from Ukraine, and they crossed the Ukrainian-Hungarian border. So the hub that we had actually handled all of the refugees that were going to go to Israel. So strictly Ukrainian Jewish people who knew for sure that they do have Jewish roots, and they are ready to go to Israel. So we had around approximately 120 to 150 families at one time there. Altogether, throughout the whole process, they helped around 2,800 families. Around 1,200 are already sent to Israel.
Wow.
Yes. So while I was there, we did receive 3 buses of new refugees. We also sent out the 3, well, actually, yesterday was the 3rd bus that was sent to Israel. So altogether, we sent probably about 100 people to Israel while I was there.
Amazing.
Yes.
Tell me about the people you met and how you connected with them.
different people from all around Ukraine. We had people from the Donetsk area. We had people from Mariupol area. We had, I mean, incredible stories. And what surprised me the most was that I'm originally from Ukraine. So I thought having family, my own family fled the country and family who are still in Ukraine, I was prepared to hear the stories. However, I was so wrong about it because being face to face there, talking to them, hearing their personal stories, as I looked into their eyes, I mean, I realized that there's nothing that can prepare you to hear those stories. The reality hits you differently when you talking to them, and I cannot even explain how you feel and how it hits you.
Tell us one of the stories that really hit you.
So one of the stories that really impacted me was the story of the woman who's 67 years old. Back in 2013, she had to flee Crimea. So when she evacuated Crimea, she found a new place to live by Kiev. And you probably heard on the news the city by the name of Bucha, where they discovered a lot of
mass graves.
Yes. So she was from that city. So she escaped the war back in 2014, and she came to Kiev.
Where she thought she was safe.
Yes. And what touched me the most was her life story. She just started her life all over again. And she told me how the city was surrounded by Russian army, and they had no electricity, they had no water, they had no food, they had no humanitarian help because nobody could get to their area. So for 41 days, she was in the shelter. They found some very old stoves. She said it was like made in 1950s, where they were able to make some food and heat up the space. And she showed me her hands, and one of her hands was probably twice bigger. And she's right there in the picture that you see right now. So one of her hands was twice bigger the size of her other hand. And when I asked what happened, she showed it to me, and she said, that's the frostbite I got from being cold and sitting in the shelter. It looked very blue. It was very scary. But and she started crying. But at the same time, she was happy because she was able to escape it. So, and that's what surprised me the most, how resilient these people are. Yes, they ran away, but at the same time, the life continues and they know that they have to go on. So that's one of the stories. It's just one of the stories that's really had the impact on me.
Tell us about a time that you were able to make a difference with these people.
I think the biggest difference that we can make, all of us, actually probably showing them that we do care. I met a lot of kids, I met a lot of volunteers, and all of them asked us why we are there. And they asked if we are getting paid for what we're doing. And most of the volunteers don't get paid to go there. And that's what touched them the most. You could tell, I mean, they couldn't understand how someone from all the way from Florida could come just to help them to move on with their life and make it work for them. So that was one of the areas where I could see the difference, but there are also other areas. I mean, the way our hub worked, we met the people on the border, we brought them to the hotel, and we held their hand from the moment they crossed the border until they get on the airplane to go to Israel, which I believe made a huge difference on them because they could see again that support and have that support that they probably would not have anywhere else.
How well did you get to know them?
We became very close. Most of these people, they have nothing to do right now. They don't have work. They sit in the hub, they sit in the hotels. They are looking for something to do. So we had to come up with different activities for them. We had actually a fitness, one of our volunteers, he's a certified trainer. So we came up with this activity of fitness. So we had fitness classes every day. We took them to the park. We found the room where we could have it. We had activities for little kids. We bought a whole bunch of art and crafts. And I mean, these people, they are looking for anything to take their mind away from the situation they're in. And I talked to some of them and they said they waking up in the middle of the night, they having nightmares. I I mean, they are traumatized. Their whole life just changed in a heartbeat. So having something else to think about and something else to be occupied with means a lot to them. And that's what we try to do through this whole process.
So I imagine that you would have been meeting whole families. Normally, that's how families go to Israel, is all together. That wasn't always the case.
Now, not in this case. Most of the men, they are required to stay, so they are not able to make it across the border.
Why are they required to stay?
Because of the war.
They're required to stay and
Yes,
fight.
yes. And not all of them do fight, but they are still required to stay in case if they need to get people out of the reserve. So yes, most of the people that we were working with were mothers, women, and kids. So I met this family, a mother, pregnant mother, who has 3 kids, and she's 32 weeks pregnant. She's about to have her fourth kid, and the father stayed in Ukraine. All 3 of her kids got sick. So I actually had to take them to the hospital, where I discovered that they are actually from my city where I was born. And the way they escaped the city was when the army destroyed the airport. Her husband put her in a car and basically said, "You're going," and she had to leave. And what was so surprising to me is that she's actually staying in Austria with her oldest son and her youngest son, and that's where she's gonna have her baby. But her daughter, and you see her in the picture, she's 13 years old, and she's actually sending her to Israel, to the school, to the boarding school. And that's where she's gonna be until...
She's going, this 13-year-old girl is going by herself.
Yes. So...
And as far as you know, they have family there? Or?
No, they have no family there. They have no one there at all. So she's gonna be all on her own. I asked, where do they stay in Israel? And the answer was, it's kind of like a dorm. So basically the school will be raising the child. She actually made it to Israel yesterday, and I already spoke to Olga. Her name is Olga, the mother, today, and she said that the daughter had very hard time yesterday. Yes, but we're hoping. I mean, we're hoping that once she gets some rest, she probably will get some mental health as well, and she can kind of get out of that condition. But as of
how
right
is
now,
the trauma that a family like that went through different than you expected, even though your own family has gone through something similar?
I cannot imagine sending my own child to another country at 13 years old and have somebody else raising the child. And she's not the only one that they met like that. There were probably about 3 or 4 more families that actually were waiting to get their visas to send their children away. Yeah, and most of them, and most of the times, the reason for that is because either the son, like for example, one of the stories, the boy's name is Andre. His mom passed away when she was 7 and she was Jewish, but his dad is not Jewish. So the father is sending the boy to Israel so he can have a better future, better education, and he's hoping that eventually he will be able to make it there. So it's different. Not something that you would expect here for sure.
Now, you added on a couple of days to see your own family members. What was that like, and when was the last time you saw them? And
yes, so I was fortunate actually to go and visit Germany, where my cousin fled to, and the last time I saw them was before COVID, so it wasn't that long ago. It was about 3 years ago, but it was the first time that we reunited with 2 of my cousins. So 3 of us grew up together. So it was it was a very special moment to have 3 of us together, because the last time we were together was about 20 years ago. I visited one and another, but not 2 of them at a time. And even my family, they're settled now, but I visited their new place that they received. It's actually provided to them by German government. And it still was hard to see. They didn't have anything. I mean, they weren't able to take anything with them. So when I walked into their bedroom and I saw this low I don't even know how to name it, little thin, like glassy thin, that had a couple of their sweaters. I was very touched.
That's all they had.
Yes, I was very touched. And I was able to take them some clothes from here because I knew that I'm gonna stop by. But still, and they're happy. They're happy for a chance to live. They're happy that they're starting their new life. So.
And where are their husbands?
Well, actually, okay, so one of their husbands is still in Ukraine and the other was always there. So.
And, you know, after having that experience, what's your understanding of the help that's needed and what we can do and how we should express our support and what we should know about what's going on?
So being a CFO, for me, it was interesting. Well, you know, when you ask for money, you always want to see where the money go to, what the money do. And I could see it very clearly where the money go and how needed it is, how all of the support is really needed there. I mean, it's incredible what the Jewish agencies do there on grounds, the help they provide in. I mean, while I was there, I visited 4 different hospitals and it was all paid for by Jewish agencies. So I think anything we can do to keep it going would be great, for sure.
So here's my last question. What was the craziest day that you had while you were over there?
Well, the craziest day was probably when we received new refugees, and most of the people on the bus were from the city of Mariupol, and it was very hard emotionally. You could tell how traumatized people are. And the same day, I had to go to emergency room with a little baby who was probably about 11 to 12 months old. The mom was a mess, and meaning crying, no husband. I mean, she was like, she didn't know what to do. The child was sick. So in the middle of the night, I took her to the hospital with a baby and had to deal with the mom and the baby situation, but she was so grateful the next day. And she actually was one of the first ones to go to Israel. And she cried when she was leaving and she couldn't understand why and how we could, I mean, why we were there. Like for her, it was kind of unbelievable that, as I said, the people from all the way from America came to help.
Well, thank you on behalf of our whole community and the Jewish Federation. Thank you for taking that call and getting on a plane in less than 24 hours and taking 2 weeks out of your life to help people in desperate need.
Yeah, I'm beyond grateful for the opportunity. I mean, it's a life-changing experience. And as I said, being there, and I mean, all of the stories, they are unique stories. But at the same time, they all have one thing in common. People are leaving their houses, people are leaving their lives behind, their relatives, their loved ones, and they do not know what to expect next. So we are very fortunate that we live in this country, and
we know where we're going to be the next day and
for sure,
how to protect our loved ones.
for sure.
In the meantime, while people are thinking about questions, I wanted to ask our colleague, Hermione Gilpin, to give us an overview of the work that our local federation and our sister federations across the country have been doing to help. Hermione?
Great. Thank you so much, Shep. And Vickie, thank you so much for sharing your experiences over the past 2 weeks and for everything you did. I know we corresponded a little bit while you were away, but it's incredible and really speaks to the power of what is happening right now. So I have the honor of being able to share the impact of many of you on this call who have supported the crisis in Ukraine through JFNA. So I just want to share the attached sort of information. Through our federation, we have actually raised we've raised more than 130,000. And that has been a contribution to the larger JFNA fundraising efforts that have raised more than 62 million. And that is an incredible accomplishment considering when all of this started in mid-February, the goal was about 20 million. So that speaks to our community coming together to supporting these refugees. There's more than 46 NGOs that are doing tremendous work over there, and it is just incredibly impactful. Vickie shared a little bit about how we can continue to help these efforts. And of course, you've already done that through making a gift, but there's also ways that you can stay informed about the work and how you can contribute, including the work, Vickie, that you were doing, being a translator for Jaffe, but also there's bi-weekly updates from JFNA that take place on Monday and Thursday. And there's actually going to be a really special webinar this week about sponsoring Ukrainian refugees. The United States has said that we will be accepting about 100,000 Ukrainians and being able to host them. And there's some more information coming out daily. So that's also something that you can do to contribute. So it's really impactful what everyone has already done. And we will continue to keep you informed. And I will also drop a link so that you can support, so that you can attend this webinar tomorrow, as well as continue your support.
Thank you, Hermione. And one of the young people that Vickie had the chance to get to know recorded a 20-second video to share with our community. So we wanted to share that with everyone now.
Thank you to everyone who support the effort.
So that's one of the boys that I was actually talking about, that he's going to, his mom passed away when he was 7, and he's going to Israel. He's waiting for his documents for originals to come from archives and go to Israel.
So you heard in his own voice how grateful he is.
Yes.
So I want to thank everyone who took the time to listen and to support this effort and to stay up to date. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vickie.